I'd recently watched a video by Peter McConville about tier lists, and it appears that every Tom, Dick and Harry with a YouTube channel has got a tier list. And watching his video, it really made me chuckle, and I thought to myself, I'm sure I've done something similar previously, and I thought I'm going to do a refresher tier list that I believe is a much more accurate and credible tier list. So as you can see here, I'm I'm all prepared. So I have my tier list thing. And I suppose what I should do is very quickly go down this, the left-hand side thing, because the other channels have got a fancier thing where they're able to move the brand names up. But I thought to myself, hold on a second, they don't really know what they are doing, and there are too many options, and I think this is pretty much one level too many. But the reason I've got thinking there, I'll explain in a moment. But really, there is only about three, basically cool, not cool, and crap. That should really be the complete number of lists. Now, I mentioned that I'd done this thing before, and I'm sure I've called it the 12 Kings or something. And this was the original sheet of paper of my list. And I've written the 22nd of February last year. So this is almost a year old. So this is what I was thinking 1 year ago when I started this palaver. And you can see here that I've got an idea of 12 Kings being, the top brands. And so I thought to myself, let's go back to my 1 year ago, my initial response to this tier list malarkey. Now, if we go back a year, we can see that I've got G-Shock right at the top. So that's pretty much what I think today. We've also got Richard Mille at the top, Rolex, Omega, Seiko, IWC at the top. What's very interesting is I think IWC and G-Shock are about to feature again very soon, and possibly Omega. And then we've got TAG, Cartier, Swatch, Longines, JJ LeCoultre, JJ LeCoultre. Do you know, I still forget when I'm on camera how to say that. Patek and Panerai, Breitling. I've got a question mark on Bremont. It's interesting that I've got Bremont, in the crosshairs there. And then at the back of this list, this goes beyond 12. You can see I've got MB&F, Lange, Hamilton, Oris, Bell & Ross, Vacheron Constantin, Resins, Gerard Perregaux, Audemars Piguet. And I was thinking, actually, and I've got Moser, written in this here. I'd forgotten to put Moser in. And so maybe what I had done is I'd moved one of these guys and placed Moser in. I can't remember. But I was thinking, my opinions over the last 12 months, they haven't really changed, which I thought was very interesting. So these tier lists is basically a self-indulgent account of a person's opinion. It really means a zilch, really, in context. It's so subjective. It really doesn't mean very much, really. It is a person's point of view, and I can only see the funny side of it. So I thought to myself, I better improve the presentation of these tier lists and actually produce something that makes sense and is going to be a lot easier to understand. Apart from, I know that this thinking business is confusing, because I'm thinking I perhaps don't need thinking. I just need the best, okay, and dog poo. Now, let's start with at the bottom, dog poo. Now, to be really honest, you don't want a brand name in this column, because on this channel, me putting someone's brand name here is like signing away death. It's shocking, because as we know, Donald Trump in his new administration, he has appointed me as the watch industry czar. So what I actually say is going to have profound implications. So what we don't want to do really is find a brand name in this column, because it's just not going to be good for business. So this column is really tricky, and so I'm going to have to come back here in a moment. Now, OK basically means that I've identified a brand that I think is OK, hence it's called OK. Now, thinking means I've identified a brand that I am thinking about, hence it's called thinking. And then at the very top we've got the best. So when I write a brand in here, it's because I consider it the best, and so I called it the best. So that's why we've got these 4 columns. Now let's go back to the business end of this tier list. A brand that arrives inside dog poo is really bad news. I writing down a brand name here could potentially mean that business goes bankrupt. So I have to be very, very careful. And being the watch czar, we know that this is, serious stuff. But where I am going to start off, is what we must not ever do. I mean, there is one thing that, now I don't want to put the brand name, I don't want to write the brand name down because it's going to be too bad. They will go bankrupt. But what I am going to do is any watch that has a 20mm lug width is instantly in so much trouble, because why would you do that? Why would you make life so difficult for the consumer? Why would you have a watch case with a 21mm lug width? So that fact puts the watch potentially in the dog poo channel. You do not want to be there. This is bad. Life is not good. Do not do this. Do not have a 21mm lug width. Don't do it. It's not good. Right. What is OK? Now, let's flick back to this list here. And actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put that list there for a moment because I probably don't need it. But let's just start off at the business end once again. Right, Master Watch at the best. Straight away, we are going to have G-Shock in there. Somebody actually put that in their meeting expectation column, or was OK. And I thought, what planet are you on? How can G-Shock be just OK, or meeting expectation or something? And so that just goes into the best, because if you really want to make life difficult for yourself, what you could do, if you have a tier list and you've got a camera on you, you could put G-Shock into something lesser than brilliant and just watch an army of internet trolls come and destroy your life. That's one good reason not to put G-Shock in anything other than the top. But number 2, and the best reason to put G-Shock at number 2, is because I say so. I say that that belongs in the top tier, so that was why G-Shock belongs in the top tier. Now, whilst I'm on my soapbox, let's put another brand in there, simply because I think so. IWC. IWC should be there because I say so. It's really as simple as that. There's no other reason that it should be there other than the fact that I absolutely adore Pilot chronographs, and I like their Ingenieur and all their other watches, especially the stuff that they did in the 90s. The noughties, it slowed down a bit, but the stuff they've done in the last 5 years is excellent. So for me, it's the 90s and the last 5 years, but IWC just belongs in the best. Now, who else do I put up here? And for some reason, my mind goes to Omega. I do not know why, but I think for some reason, Omega just has to live there. It just has to be up there with these top flight players. I don't know why, but that they do need to be there. Now, the other thing that the other channels do not do is that they never mention micro brands. And I thought to myself, that's like a red rag to a bull. There is a micro brand called Raven, and I think they are based in Kansas. They're a US micro brand, and for some reason I think they are brilliant. That they're a little American brand. They make sport diver watches, absolutely fabulous. So we've got 4 in the top flight here. But let's go to brands like Rolex, Tudor, Richard Mille and Patek and Audemars Piguet. Let's go to these 5 because I think we need, I need to put these somewhere. I need to write their names down. Now, Rolex watches are fantastically well made. The quality is brilliant. There are lots of them. People like them. I like them. And I have been thinking about Rolex for many, many times, but there is a problem. Every time I've gone into an AD or I've gone into a boutique that has Rolex for sale, I've never actually pulled the trigger. I do not know why, but it happens. So even though I am thinking, I know that if I do it again, the likelihood of me going in and pulling that trigger probably isn't going to work. So Rolex has to be in okay, because they're definitely not dog poo. And they're definitely not thinking, because I've done so much thinking of Rolex, it sort of plonks itself there. The reasons that Rolex lives there is because the overpriced grey market and the nonsense around the grey market really put me off. And it's why when the CPO program was released, I thought to myself, if I was going to go Rolex secondhand or grey market type of thing, the Rolex CPO program would be the place I would go. But the fact that the CPO prices are so high really it turns me off. And so what that's doing to me, it's making me just think Rolex is okay. I'm not going to put it into thinking or the best. It's just sort of lodged itself in, yes, it's okay. Now, Patek Philippe. I've always liked Patek Philippe. I think it is a symbol of you've paid a lot of money for something, but the quality of the product, the build quality, its brand recognition, all that is fabulous. But once again, there's a little bit of nonsense on the grey market. There's a lot of hype, and that hype really makes me put Patek back in the okay category. It's just something that, even though I like it, I'm probably never going to buy it, because if I had the dollar value to get a Patek, I would probably choose another brand, if I'm really honest, unless I thought to myself, I really must have one Patek in my collection. Or, you know, and the same for Rolex. If I had to have one Rolex, I mean, if I really want the Sea Dweller's the one that I've always liked, and the Patek, there are a few that I do like, but I think push comes to shove, I'm going to put my firepower somewhere else. So Patek will live there. Now, AP is probably again cloaked with the same thing. The secondary market, the hype. A couple of releases recently that I really haven't thought were very smart. Even though I do like AP, I really like them, but the price, the grey market, and the hype around it is making me put AP in okay. I want AP to be thinking, but it really hasn't. So I'm going to have to leave AP there. Now, who else did I mention? Richard Mille. Now, I am a huge fan of Richard Mille. I really am. And straight away, I would put Richard Mille at the very top of the food chain because they are so cool. But the one thing that really bothers me about Richard Mille today is the price. and the fact that getting them is very difficult as well. And then also a bit of hype and nonsense on the grey market about them. But it's really that accelerated price, and especially some of these grey market claims where these already obscenely expensive Richard Milles are way over the list price. And also you've got to get on a list and you have to be liked and all that sort of thing. It takes away my desire to think, you know, ultimately I'd like a Richard Mille, because in the past I have been very, very close, especially to the RM05. But that was many years ago. And maybe I'm past that time now. But once again, if Richard Mille was a real possibility and I had the funds, I'm just going to go in a different direction. I'm not going to stay with Richard Mille. And for that reason, RM really has to go down into the OK again. So what's happening here with this tier list, with this very, very credible tier list, is you can see there's a pattern of behavior. A lot of brands end up in OK because in actual fact they really are OK, and they are you know, they're fabulous brands because someone really does like them and someone is buying them, so that's why they sort of end up here. Okay, there's nothing in thinking. Now I'm just going to go straight to the jugular here. I'm going to put TAG Heuer here and TAG Heuer. And it's because TAG Heuer was one of the brands that I originally liked, especially the Formula One type with the plastic bezel and the chronograph version. And for some reason, TAG relaunching that genre of design, that design in mechanical, it is just going to really impress me. And I sort of get this nice feeling about them. And so that's why they're in the thinking zone. Now, there are a few other brands that I could just reel off the top of my head, but I thought, why don't I just get down and dirty here and try and think of a brand that I'm going to put in dog poo. Although, yeah, I'll come back to that, because if I write something in this category, it's going to be jolly serious. That company is going to face bankruptcy, because this channel is so influential and my opinion is so influential, I could bring about a downfall. I mean, I'm already devaluing any watch that has a 21mm lug width. That will have already dropped about 10% in the marketplace. If you go to Chrono24 now and search on any wristwatch that has a 21mm lug width, it will have already dropped about 10%. So that's what the power of my hand and this pen can achieve. So sticking a brand name in here, I feel responsible. I don't want to hurt people. I want to give them a chance. So but let me come back, because I can think of one brand that I don't like. You've got to think to yourself, what's that brand? Who's he going to write here? Because if I write, it will disappear. That brand will no longer exist in about 6 months' time. Anyway, let's go back to thinking. I have TAG Heuer. I am really thinking about TAG Heuer. The other brand that I've always thought about is JLC. I really like the Reverso. I love it, but I understand that sticking an automatic complication inside a JLC Reverso is very difficult. So JLC is the one watch that I can forgive not being automatic, and it is a manual wind watch. But as long as that manual wind watch, however, has a power reserve on the dial, JLC is all good with me. And that's definitely not just okay, JLC is definitely thinking. But because I am thinking about it, that's why it's not in the best. Because the best means I will pull the trigger. It means that these have crosshairs on them, type of thing. So now look, there are so many other brands that I could mention, but I thought to myself, let's just, fewer is less is more in this context. Let's just take a quick recap of what is good, what I'm thinking about, what is okay, and what is dog poo. the best. G-Shock, IWC, Omega, Raven. I'm thinking about Tag Heuer, JLC. And actually, let's just quickly put Hublot in here, because how many times have I looked at Hublot over the last couple of years and I've thought to myself, oh, I do like that. But there is one model that has a dial side quick release strap, quick release, and I've never liked the idea of that because I think someone could whip it off your wrist quite easily. And it's the one thing that niggled me, but everything else that Hublot have done, and the brand and the people that work for the brand and how the brand have been to me, they've been very nice. So I definitely hold them up a little bit. They're definitely not just okay, they're definitely something that I am thinking about. And so, and because I was doing this, Hublot popped into my mind, so that's why that's there. The OK chaps, Rolex, Patek, AP and Richard Mille. Once again, obviously I like these brands, and you know, perhaps the money is a problem, and perhaps, in fact, the cost of them is probably a big barrier to entry for me. But if money's not a problem, I'm probably going to be looking more at IWC, Omega and MRG G-Shocks, to be really honest. I'd be thinking, why don't I just throw some money at these three brands that I know I really like? So that's sort of why these very nice watches, these very nice brands are there. Anyway, I sort of think to myself, I probably have made my point, being that that this is the tier list to sort of, you know, beat all other tier lists. It's the most accurate tier list that you will find on the internet, and is the most accurate. Now, I know that someone's going to say, hold on, Stephen, what brand name am I going to put in here? And to be really honest, I don't want to bring about their demise. I really don't. There is a brand I do not like. I don't like what they do. I don't like how they sound. I don't like how they've treated me. And I really want to write their name down, but I don't want to be blamed for their downfall, their bankruptcy, their financial demise. And if I write their name in here, that will happen. So I think we're going to have to stick with the positive stuff, which is the best stuff that you can get your hands on at the moment is G-Shock, IWC, Omega, and a small micro band called Raven in the United States. The stuff that is hot, that I'm thinking about, that I like, Tag Heuer, JLC and Hublot. I don't know why, they just are. The stuff that is really okay, but I probably can't afford right now, and even if I could afford, I'd probably go to IWC, Omega and G-Shock. So that's why Rolex, Patek, Audemars Piguet and Richard Mille is there. And anything with a 21mm lug width has already dropped at least 10% in value as of the publication of this YouTube video. So I want to stop there and not be the Grim Reaper. So at that, I am going to say ciao for now, and I've probably missed a couple of brands. I do apologise, and perhaps I will come back. But that I am going to say, I hope everybody's well, and speak again very soon.